Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be diving into a book that claims you can become a millionaire, and the best part is it doesn't involve winning the lottery or becoming some kind of budgeting master.
Right, exactly. It's called The Automatic Millionaire by David Bach. And what I like most about it is that it bitches all that, complicated financial jargon and gives you clear and simple steps that anyone can follow.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, myself included, get overwhelmed by all the technical stuff. So what's the book's main premise? What's the big secret to becoming an automatic millionaire?
Well, Bach starts by addressing a problem that I think a lot of us can relate to. Traditional budgeting advice just doesn't seem to work for most people. I mean, he drops this pretty startling statistic in the book. 57% of American workers have less than $25,000 in savings.
Wow, that's a lot of people without a financial safety net. So it's not just about not knowing how to budget, it's something else, right?
Exactly. One of the biggest takeaways for me was how our spending seems to magically increase right alongside our income. You get a raise or a promotion, and suddenly you need a nicer car, a bigger house, more vacations. It's this constant game of catch up that leaves so many people financially stuck.
I totally get that. It's like that feeling of where did all my money go
hmm
at the end of the month, even when you think you're doing okay financially. So how does The Automatic Millionaire help us break free from this cycle?
Well, Bach introduces us to this couple, Jim and Sue McIntyre. They're the automatic millionaires, and get this, they retired comfortably in their 50s without any inheritance or some crazy get-rich-quick scheme.
Okay, now that's intriguing. So what's their secret? Did they start investing early? Were they just really disciplined savers?
It all boils down to this. They cracked the code of automating their finances. Instead of relying on willpower or trying to remember to transfer money to their savings each month, they set up systems to do it for them. The beauty of it is that you're less likely to overspend because the money's already been redirected before you even see it.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like paying yourself first. So how do we actually put this pay yourself first principle into practice? What are some concrete steps?
It's simpler than you might think. Bach uses this analogy of the government taking taxes straight from our paychecks. We might not love it, but we've all adjusted to it. So why not apply that same principle to our savings?
I love that analogy. It really puts things into perspective. It's like telling yourself, hey, this portion of my income, that's not even mine to spend. That's going straight to my future self who'll be super grateful for it.
Precisely. And the great thing is you don't have to start big. Even setting aside $50 or $100 from each paycheck can make a huge difference over time thanks to this little thing called compound interest.
Let's talk about compound interest for a second, because this is where things get exciting for me. It's like a snowball effect, right? You start small,
Yeah.
but as your money earns interest, and then that interest earns more interest, it can really start to grow.
You got it. It's like magic, but with money. Imagine this. You invest $1,000 today, and it earns, let's say, a 5% return each year. In 10 years, you'll have over $1,600, and you didn't even have to lift a finger. Now imagine that over 20, 30, 40 years. Even small, consistent contributions can snowball into significant wealth over time.
So we've talked about automating savings and the power of compound interest. But let's be real, what about those everyday expenses, the ones that always seem to drain our accounts? And no, I'm not talking about giving up your daily coffee, although that's where the term latte factor comes in.
Exactly. Bach uses the Latte Factor to illustrate how those small, seemingly insignificant expenses add up over time. Maybe it's that daily latte or that magazine subscription you never read, or those impulse buys that end up gathering dust in the back of your closet.
Okay, I'm guilty of a few impulse buys in my time, I have to admit. But I'm ready to break free from the cycle and put my money to work for me instead of, against me.
That's what we like to hear. That's what this deep dive is all about. We're going to equip you with the knowledge and tools you need to start your journey to becoming an automatic millionaire.
So we're on a hunt for our own personal latte factors, those sneaky expenses that drain our accounts. But once we've freed up some cash, where should we direct it? The book dives into some specific strategies for making that money work for us. And one that really caught my eye was the whole thing about pre-tax retirement accounts, like 401k.
Yeah, 401k. They can seem kind of intimidating, like a whole other language almost, but Bach does a great job of breaking them down in a way that makes sense. It's essentially getting a bonus from the government for saving for retirement. Who wouldn't want that, right?
Free money from the government, right. Sign me up. Okay, but seriously, tell me more about these tax advantages you mentioned. How do they work exactly?
Well, it's all about this beautiful thing called tax-deferred growth. So when you contribute to a traditional 401k, The money isn't taxed until you withdraw it during retirement. So not only are you contributing pre-tax dollars, which is already a win, but any investment gains you make grow tax-free year after year.
Okay, now I'm starting to see why everyone's so gung-ho about 401k. So it's like a double whammy of growth. The magic of compound interest, plus those sweet, sweet tax savings. Kind of wish I had started contributing sooner.
You and me both, but hey, it's never too late to start, right? And here's the kicker. A lot of employers offer something called an employer match for your 401k contributions. It's essentially free money that your employer adds to your account, and it compounds right alongside your contributions.
Wow, talk about a no-brainer. That's like free money on top of free money.
Mhm.
Okay, but what if your employer doesn't offer a 401k? Or what if you're self-employed, like a freelancer or something?
Don't worry, Bach has got you covered there too. He talks about some great alternatives like traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. They're like 401ks, little siblings, but they offer many of the same tax advantages, so you've got options no matter what your work situation is.
That's good to know. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, but it sounds like there's a solution for pretty much everyone.
Exactly.
But, retirement can feel like a lifetime away sometimes, especially if you're younger. It's like, yeah, retirement, that's important. But what about, like, rent and bills and that trip I've been wanting to take? It's hard to think that far ahead sometimes.
Totally. And that's exactly why building an emergency fund is so crucial. And it's something Bach stresses a lot in the book. Imagine if you had that financial cushion ready to go if something unexpected happened, like a medical bill or your car breaks down. Having that safety net can make all the difference.
Oh, absolutely. Peace of mind is priceless, for sure. It's like having that buffer so that life's little hiccups don't completely derail your financial plans.
Exactly. Ideally, you want to aim for about 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in a safe and easily accessible account. That way, if something does happen, you can handle it without racking up credit card debt or dipping into your long-term savings.
Smart. Okay, but how do we make this whole emergency fund thing automatic? We're all about automation today, remember?
Right. Well, just like with saving for retirement, it all comes down to setting up those automatic transfers from your checking account to your emergency fund. You treat it like just another bill that needs to be paid consistently and automatically, out of sight, out of mind, right?
Right. Okay, so we're paying ourselves first, building that emergency fund, and watching our retirement savings grow. What's next on the automatic millionaire's to-do list? So we've covered a lot of ground, from automating savings to that emergency fund safety net. But what about one of the biggest financial goals out there, owning a home? Bach talks about that too, right?
Yeah, he does. He actually dedicates a good chunk of the book to home ownership. I know it can seem daunting, like this huge, scary financial commitment, especially these days.
For sure. It feels like everyone's talking about the crazy housing market.
Right. But Bach does a good job of breaking down the home buying process into manageable steps. And he debunks some common myths along the way, like the idea that you absolutely need a 20% down payment. He talks about all these different loan programs and strategies that can make homeownership a reality, even if you don't have a ton of cash saved up.
See, now that's encouraging to hear. I think a lot of people, especially younger generations, assume that home ownership is just completely out of reach. But Bach really seems to emphasize that it's a worthwhile goal, right?
Absolutely. It's not just about having a place to call your own, although that's a big part of it, but owning a home can be an amazing long-term investment. Like, instead of throwing money away on rent each month, you're building equity with every mortgage payment. Plus, let's be real, there's just something really empowering about owning a piece of the world, you know?
Totally. It's like you're putting down roots, both literally and financially.
Mhm.
So let's say we've taken the plunge and bought a home.
Mhm.
Bach also talks about some creative strategies for paying off that mortgage faster. Things like a biweekly payment plan. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, actually. Basically, instead of making one big mortgage payment each month, you split it in half and pay every 2 weeks. Sounds like a small change, right? But over the life of your loan, it can make a big difference.
Really? How so?
Well, because you're making an extra payment each year, those biweekly payments add up, so you're chipping away at the principal faster, which means you end up paying less in interest overall.
Oh, I get it. You're sort of like outsmarting the system a little bit.
Exactly.
I like it. So we've covered automating savings and investments, building that emergency fund, even tackling those big goals like homeownership.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing I wanted to touch on, something that really resonated with me. Bach talks about automatic tithing, which is interesting because up until this point, we've been talking about managing money for ourselves, our own financial well-being. But this is about something bigger, right?
Right. Bach brings up a really important point. It's not just about accumulating wealth for yourself, it's also about using your resources to make a difference in the world.
It's about giving back. And I love how he ties it back to the whole automation theme.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It's like you set up a system for automatic charitable giving, just like you would for your savings or bills. Maybe it's a certain amount each month that goes to a cause you're passionate about, and the best part is you don't even have to think about it. It just happens.
I love that. And, I've heard from a lot of people who find that giving back, even in small ways, can actually make them feel more financially abundant. It's like a mindset shift, moving from a place of scarcity to a place of generosity.
It's that whole idea of the more you give, the more you receive.
Exactly. Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the automatic millionaire, what are some key takeaways our listeners can implement today, like right now, to start building their own paths to financial freedom?
Start by taking a look at your spending habits. Identify those latte factors, those small expenses that are draining your account without you even realizing it, and see if you can redirect those funds towards your savings or investments. And remember the golden rule. Automate everything you can. Automate your savings, automate your bill payments, even automate those charitable donations. And most importantly, don't get discouraged if you're not starting with a huge income or a trust fund. Even small, consistent actions can lead to big results over time. It's all about building those positive financial habits and letting compound interest work its magic.
Well said. And I think it's important to remember that financial freedom, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, right? Some people dream of early retirement. Some people want to travel the world. Others just want to feel secure and in control of their finances. Whatever your definition of financial freedom is, the automatic millionaire gives you a solid framework to get there. So take charge of your financial future, automate your way to success, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next automatic millionaire. Until next time, happy saving.